Hey, Luxury Cruise listeners. If you're like me and you have a stash of SeaPass cards, key cards, room key cards, you are going to love the latest offering from the Cruise Maps. They have premium cruise cards that are the same size as your stateroom card, except they turn it into something you can actually display with the itinerary map and all of the ship and trip details. They even have gorgeous books that you can display them in. The Cruise Maps, though, offers so much more than just cards. They offer maps, specific artwork, and personalized pieces that help you to remember your cruise long after you've landed. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order if you use my link, thecruisemaps.com/luxury. That's thecruisemaps.com/luxury. So whether it's your first cruise or the 50th cruise, I know that you're going to find something you love at the Cruise Maps.
It's time to talk about luxury cruising. From sweet so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and I've got something I'm so excited to share with all of you today. Yvette is here, and she is going to talk to us about AmaWaterways, and not just plain old everyday AmaWaterways, but very special AmaWaterways Soulful Experiences. Yvette, please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on your podcast. So my name is Yvette McQueen, MD. I am a global traveling physician. I curate culturally immersive trips for high-performing professionals so they can relax, they can enjoy, they can bring home an experience and feel like they have wandered the world, but also relax. So that's what I do. I am actually an emergency physician for 25 years. But I started traveling when I was 14. My first solo and international travel was when I was 14 to West Germany to see a pen pal. So I've always loved travel. And now that I'm at a point where I'm reducing some of my medical career and increasing my more travel experience, and I just want to show it to the whole world.
Beautiful. Tell us, what is the AmaWaterways Soulful Experience?
Okay, so the AmaWaterways is one of the river cruises. They're known for their Europe cruises, but they also hit 4 other continents. 2 years ago, it was a group of people, of African Americans, and we almost bought up the whole ship. And we was like, we enjoyed the excursions. Can it be more tailored toward us? So one of their vice president executives actually said, yeah, let's start an experience. So it's called the Soulful Experience, where it's river cruising, shining a light on Black history and culture along the rivers. So the excursions, the foods, they bring people on board to show how the areas we cruise through, because with river cruises, you stop at a different destination every day, how that area has been influenced as far as the African diaspora experience.
Awesome. So was it a group that you organized and then you sort of petition to AmaWaterways to say, hey, we want this tailored more to our preferences and our interests?
Actually, no, it wasn't me. It was a travel advisor that I'm friends with. She started actually, and she approached AmaWaterways executives, and they said, hey, that's a good idea, because they're always looking. One thing about AmaWaterways, they are a luxury cruise, but they cater to the home style feeling. And they want to feel like it's a family experience to them. So they like their guests to give them ideals of what's to change. So they took that ideal and they said, okay, let's give it a trial run. They did it for one of the France experience, and it sold out almost immediately. And then they said, oh, wow, this is interesting. Let's try 2 more. So they tried it the next year down the Rhine River, and then they also did down the Rhone River, and it sold out again. And what it includes is not only the 7-day river cruise, but it also includes where it starts at. So if it starts in Paris, it'll include like a 2-day excursion in Paris. Well, there's no Black influences in Paris, where you have some jazz singers, and there was a lot of the African Americans moved there in the 30s and during the war, and they have influence. So it's called the Black Paris Tour. They add that included. Included some of the jazz clubs that influence. There's an area of Paris that called Little Africa. You get to tour that and different types of food that are not normally. I mean, you see the Eiffel Tower, you see this arch, but it's not the same. You say, oh, I can connect. I feel like this is part of my home. And so that's how it started. And they said, hey, let's move it on to other places. So it's now actually part of the Nile River cruise, because of course you think of Egypt, Nubian. So if you go down or up the Nile River, that's what they call it, to the Aswan area, is an area called the Nubian Village. And there are people that look like me. So the one thing about Egypt is a diverse population, but it is still Africa. Remember, Egypt is still Africa. So you feel like you're going home, and they talk about how the kings and queens and how the statues and the Sphinx all look like me. They have braids. If you go to the Egyptian Museum, they look like me. So you get that feeling, and the guides can tie in the African history with the population that they're experiencing the river cruise. So now they're in Egypt. They actually have the Soulful Experience in South Africa, Zambia, with the Victoria Falls. They have one in Portugal. You don't think how Portugal, you think, oh, Portugal is Portuguese and part Spanish, but there's African diaspora there. There's an association there. And it's also in Colombia. AmaWaterways just started sailing in Colombia last year. One of the few ships that sailed the Magdalena River. It sailed down in 60 years. So they took it on as an experience. And they're actually hitting small towns and populations that have not seen the outside world or outside of Colombia, where they can see international tourists and sell their wares, which is so great. And they also have it in Vietnam, Cambodia, and they've sailed down the Mekong River, particularly when they want to start talking about, I know they have one of the tours about the African American soldiers that was in Vietnam, which is a huge history people don't talk about. So that's how it started.
Yeah, that's all amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of us, especially those of us based in the U.S., we really don't think about the African diaspora. We're very focused on our own experience here. But yeah, it makes sense that, especially if we're talking about the slave trade, that some of the boats may have stopped in Portugal, and perhaps some of the people escaped, or some of them were dropped off and sold there, certainly into South America and into Colombia. And yeah, that's really interesting about the African-American soldiers during the Vietnam War who may have decided to stay. We know that there were a lot of marriages between American soldiers of all races, Vietnamese women, and many of them probably did decide to stay and started to influence the culture in some ways. I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I wonder too, as you were talking, because here in the U.S., we really think about Creole, and Haiti was a French colony initially, and we know that many parts of Louisiana are still very Creole. And so did any of that go back to France and then also influence their culture? And that's during these river cruises, you have the ability to see that.
Yeah, it was great in France. Not only did we see some military statues or tributes in France, and in the Luxembourg Gardens, people go there and say, oh, beautiful gardens. There's actually a couple statues that tribute to the African population that helped during World War II as far as helping the French actually win. There's also another statue in Paris that, as far as it's part of the Three Musketeers, Alexander Dumas. People do not realize he was of African descent. So that wrote the Three Musketeers. So it was interesting. And then the actor I couldn't think about is Josephine Baker. She was the singer, the cabaret dancer, but also a spy during World War II. And she eventually had an orphanage and took care of many orphan French children there. But AmaWaterways is, once again, You sail down the river. It's just luxury. You feel at home. They make you feel at home. The chefs cater to you. They'll have special menus that are related, like on, I think one of the sailings was actually on Juneteenth, which is a holiday here in the US. They actually had a special menu of Southern food right there on the ship. And then they brought in a well-known celebrity chef that, her food was fabulous. So for 3 of the 7 days, she cooked these amazing dishes that were either soul food or Southern food, but definitely had the African American experience.
Awesome. So for the people on board, is it catered to mostly African Americans or Americans of African descent? Or is it also bringing in some like African culture?
Oh, yes. I would say 75% will be catered to African American, and that's who they sell to. So that's who the population sell to. But some of the information they bring on, like I said, they bring guest lecturers from the university, wherever they're at. They also will cater to also the African population because you think they've also migrated other places too. But I will say on all of them, it's never been 100% or Black or African American. So the first one I went on to, there were probably a couple of Caucasian couples and non-minority couples.
Just to give it some numbers, because AmaWaterways, what are we talking about? We're talking 100 passengers, 125? How big are the ships?
They have 140 to 160.
Okay.
So on one of them, there was 6 couples that was non-minority, put it that way.
Neither one was a minority, person of color, nothing. Okay.
No. So they said, we asked them like, oh, did you know this was going to be a soulful experience? And they're like, actually, no. And when we were told it was a soulful experience, we decided to still give it a try. And they're like, this is wonderful. This is new information for us. And then when I went on the Colombia one of the couples from the France one was on there too. She's like, oh, I just keep getting on them because they feel like they have extra. So I probably shouldn't be telling people because now it's going to sell out to non-minorities. But they said, oh, I feel like I get a little extra in my excursions.
Yeah, and I think if people like river cruising, look, there are only so many rivers that you can go on. And if you've done the Douro, if you've done the Rhine, and you want a different view of it, then I think that this is fantastic.
So that's what I've noticed about some of the river cruises. And I'm telling you about the Soulful, but once I found out about the Soulful, I found out of other specialty cruises. You know, river cruises already put you above everyone else because it's intimate. Like you said, most ships are between 120 and 160, which is very intimate. You get to know who you're sailing with for the 7 days. But if it becomes a specialty one, and I've seen other ones like Scenic or Riverside, some of them actually are now having pickleball excursions. Of course, most people think wine and food. Okay, wine and food. But there's actually one that was a beer one. They're like, oh, we're just going to hit the beer place. And they bring a beer specialist on the ship to say, hey, this is the different beers made in this area. Or one of my travel advisor friends told me that she had a crocheting and knitting group go on a river cruise. And then they was able to say, hey, we're here in wherever in Germany, and they had the special yarn, and this is how we do the weaving that's different than in the United States. So there's opportunities for specialty cruises on the river.
Yeah, and the fact that it is smaller, and if you do have a travel advisor who's willing to get even 50 people together, that sounds like a lot, but 25 to 50 people who are interested in that kind of experience, and they have a relationship with, maybe it's Ama, maybe it's Emerald. I actually had somebody on the podcast early on, I'll link it, but she did this was an Emerald Ocean kosher cruise. They didn't have to worry about anything. Everybody on the cruise was kept 100% kosher, and they followed all the rules so that they could be comfortable and know that they were eating only kosher food. And so you can find, if you have a special, it's like I tell people, there's a podcast for everything. There's probably a river cruise for a lot of your special interests. Definitely crafting. I'm sure there's a scrapbooking one out there. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yes. And I know some people that have gone, it wasn't ballroom dancing, but they were a dance club. Like you said, if you get a travel advisor, all you need is, like you said, 10 cabins is 20 people, and you can form a group. Like you said, reach out to your favorite travel advisor or me or you or whoever you choose and say, hey, I'm interested in a cruise in Europe. I'm interested in a cruise in Portugal, and go from there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Have you done a river cruise that wasn't a soulful experience?
Yes. So I've also done scenic. So especially since we talk about luxury cruising. So as a travel advisor, I was able to attend what we call the River Cruising Expo. And so I was able to learn about the most known 9 river cruise and active act and actually view 15 ships. I've sailed on AmaWaterways, the regular one, which was great. And I like them because their excursions, they don't have a lot of people on each excursions, and then they can tailor it towards your activity. So they have easy walking, particularly if you have any disabilities, or the moderate, which is the normal one. You can be on a bus or do a walking tour. And then they have the active one, of course, with hiking. People do hike and bicycle, and they're one of the few cruise ships that have bicycles on board. And then I wanted to upgrade a little bit and went a little bit more ultra luxury, which is scenic down the Rhine from, let's see, where do we start? Oh, Netherlands, Amsterdam, down to Basel, Switzerland. The Rhine River, of course, is known for its castles, beautiful churches, a wonderful wine, but they're uber luxury because every suite has a butler.
Nice.
That's what sold me on them. I was like, oh, butler? And the first girl, what does a butler do? The butler unpacks for you and hang your things up, anything you want. And they're all inclusive too. That's another thing. So a lot of the river cruises, of course, they give you beer and wine for lunch and dinner, but scenic, and another one that I sailed on was Riverside, which actually do less than 7 days. A lot of people think you just need 7 days, but Riverside cruising, you can do a 3 or 4 one, and they're all inclusive where they include all your alcohol if you need your alcohol as a drinker, but they have butlers. And I enjoyed that, just being catered to and feeling special like a queen.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's why I love river cruising. It's definitely upscale. And like you said, it's intimate. And some of them, you don't usually think about butlers on a river cruise, but sometimes they are available, and it's fantastic. I had another question about the soulful experience. And I think you touched on this a little bit, but did they have expert lecturers come on, and what were some of those lectures about?
Oh, yes. So we had expert lecturers. Let's see. I remember one of them was from the university in France. It was regarding the music and how the music was influenced. With an afternoon lecture, we sat there for an hour in the lounge, and they talked about how the music was influenced, by the African-American jazz players in the 1920s and the 1930s. And he had a whole movie set up, and we was like, oh, this is great. Another lecturer we had was, they brought on a wine lecture. They brought in a soloist. She's French, she's Black French, but she's a soloist opera singer, and they brought her on to entertain us for the night. When we were in Colombia, they brought in on the Colombia dancers. So they were in, of course, the traditional Colombia wear, and they showed us the traditional Colombia dance. I can't remember what it's called. It's called the mating dance. But then after we had a demonstration, they pulled everyone from the audience, and they said, we're going to teach you this dance. Now on the Columbia rivers, we only had, 56 people on that. It's less than 100 people on the Columbia River one. So that's even a little bit more intimate than you expect.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. And what is the name? Just to clarify for people, it's a river in the country. Is it the Madeira River?
Colombia is the Magdalena
River, because that would be awesome too, because here in the U.S., we do have river cruises on the Columbia River, and that would be very cool to have a soulful experience right here in the U.S. because that's out west.
Yeah, Washington, the state of Washington.
Yes. Yeah. Not some place that we think about that in terms of being rich in African American history, but I'm sure there is.
Oh, I could easily see it too, because I just learned about some of the newer ones in the U.S., and I can't remember which line is doing it, but they're going to start going down the Ohio River. And I could easily see how they start talking about the Underground Railroad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the one that's done in the Great Lakes. It's not the river. So one of the luxury
that's
cruises
Viking. Yeah. Viking does the Great Lakes, but it's American Cruise Line, I think, that does the Mississippi.
Yeah, but the American Cruise Line also does the Great Lakes also.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
So they do the Great Lakes. So I could easily see how they talked about the Ontario and the Michigan, right, and bring that part in.
Yeah.
Yes, they do the Mississippi. 2 of them do the Mississippi. I would hesitate, though. Yes, we have a lot of Black history with the Mississippi. I would hesitate having a cruise of predominantly African Americans down the Mississippi, because that would be a trauma experience.
Yeah. Well, something definitely to keep in mind. Very true. And this is sort of a segue to something else that came to mind. I'm just wondering, you've done a non-soulful experience. I'm going to guess that the percentage of people of color was reversed on that, maybe 10%. And now you had an experience where the majority of people were African American or people of color. How was that experience for you?
Well, the service was great. I would never say anything different about the service of the ships. The service was absolutely wonderful either way. I would say the atmosphere, though, when you're with like-minded people, and I'm not even going to say if it's just African American, like if you're going on a experience for kosher or just, Jewish, or if you're going, even if you bring in the LGBTQ community, if you're just going with like-minded people that you have lived and experienced some of the same thing, you're going to feel more of a community. And even probably only knew 6 people of 140, but I ended up making new friends, and it just became livelier in the evening, sometimes in the afternoon, and definitely after dinner. There's music in the lounge. I think it just became more livelier and more family oriented.
I love that. That is so good. Anything else about the soulful experience that we haven't touched on that you would want to share?
I would just say, if you give it a try for any specialty cruise, whatever your favorite cruise line is. I mean, some people have some loyalty. Some people like to try the different one. But I would say go to your travel advisor and say, I want to try a specialty cruise, only because it does give a different lookout. Because you can go down the Rhine River and say, oh, that's the usual castle, or that's the usual winery, where if you're going with just all golfers, say if it's all golfers, because they have golfing trip, but now you're going to say, oh, we're going to stop here, that we normally see a castle, but we're going to actually play golf behind the castle. It's just a different experience. So if you've been there, done that, say you want to try it again, try a specialty cruise. But you definitely, if you like the low intimate, less than 200 people, feel catered to, feel special being catered to, I would say just try a river cruise. I think everyone should try a river cruise. And it's not just for the old. I know people say it's for the senior citizens or the retired, where the average age now is in their 40s, because there's more affluent people, more entrepreneurs, more people want to experience culture. And that's what you experience in that. Like I said, I take people on cultural immersive trips. And that's what a river cruise will do. You actually stop in a destination, usually in the middle of the city. You can walk out, even if you're not doing an excursion, because excursions are included. So it's part of the price. But you can walk out. I've walked out and just walked around the city, looked at the different art in the city, stopped at my own museums, stopped at a local cafe. I like talking to the local people. And that's what's so great about the river cruises, that you actually feel like you're touching the local experience and the way they live.
I love it. That sounds great. I agree. I absolutely agree that river cruising definitely gets you more immersed into the culture, because you are just so close to the main areas of the cities and you see parts of the country that you wouldn't otherwise. These little teeny tiny towns and just floating by the rivers. They have the ability to locally source their food, which just it's not only fresher, but it's also more authentic to the area. So I couldn't agree with you more. I want to take a step back from this particular experience and just ask you a question I ask everybody. And that is, how do you define luxury?
That's a good question. So luxury to me is a feeling. A lot of people, it's not the price. A lot of people feel like, oh, it's the 5-star and I pay $2,000 a night. That could still be a bad hotel. Really. I feel that it's the experience and the feeling that a luxury gives me, where once again, yes, I like fine things. So yes, I would like the sheets to be nice and comfortable, but also make me feel like your number one client, no matter what. And it's just being catered to and not entitled, but just catered to where I want you to have a good experience in my environment. So that's what the service is about. People like to serve. There's people that love service. And so they're like, I want you, if you're on my ship or in my hotel or, experiencing even on my airplane, I want you to feel that you are an important person out of 300, but you still are an important person. And this is what luxury is to me.
Awesome. I love that. Do you feel that your experiences on the Soulful Experiences have met that definition of luxury for you?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, by the second day, they already know your name. And that's one of the things being in the service industry. It's calling people by their name. So even if I call them their name, they also know my name back. So they know my name by the second day, or they even know I like to take my nieces and nephews and give them exposure. I believe exposure to the young is great. They knew my niece only liked Sprite. So they made sure for dinner, every dinner, she had a Sprite waiting for her. So that's what I think luxury is.
That's awesome. Do you have a dream cruise?
Right now, I have 2 of them that I'm working on. And I know people say bucket list. I don't call it the bucket list. I call it the suitcase list. Where's my suitcase going next? So I'm working on it probably for the next year to 2 years. So I'm looking at 20, 27, 28. So 2, I'm going to tell you about 2. One is I want to experience the Galapagos. And one, because I'm, being in medicine, I'm a nerd, but it's just so scientific and you can get there. And it's just where a lot of people don't go. See the natural habitat of all the animals in the environment and learn some science, because most of the ships that go there use the naturalists and the scientists. So that's where I'm looking to. And the next one, of course, is the 7th continent. I have not hit Antarctica. But once again, I want to go there as a scientist, but I want to go luxury.
Yeah.
So I still like to sleep well, eat well, drink well. And over the last few years, some of the ships have reconstructed themselves where they are luxury, but also have a science orientation to it. So those are my 2 lists where I'm going.
That's awesome. Well, the podcast that dropped just before yours was about Galapagos. So go back. It actually dropped today that we're recording this podcast. So maybe go back and check it out. I learned some amazing things. Most especially is that you have to have a naturalist. You basically can't go anywhere in the Galapagos without a naturalist, which is amazing. Wow. Well, I love it. So other than those 2 that are in the works, any other cruises, luxury or otherwise, on the calendar?
Yes. Well, one thing is, as a travel advisor, I like to experience it if I'm going to sell it or put my people on the ship. So I plan to do some ocean cruises with Oceania and Regent, which are the smaller ships. They have 200 to 300 people on, which are considered luxury. But a lot of people think they're still where you have to wear ball gowns and things like that, where they're not. Those are 2 of the ones that I know are upcoming. I also am planning a yacht trip. So actually 2 years ago, I got to charter a yacht for some friend. So one of the things when I say I take people to culturally immersive places, but as a physician too, I give them lectures. So they can get continuing medical education lectures. They can get credits if they want it. So I'll teach anything from travel medicine to global health to just stress management. And we're able to charter a yacht in Croatia. So I would consider that luxury. It was only 32 cabins, and we had a total of 30 people on board. They catered to us. The food was phenomenal, all locally sourced. We would cruise in a day. We would swim, play in the water, stop at the Croatian islands or towns at night. You just walk off of your yacht on board, and it's like private yacht. And you see this sign that says, I'm on a private yacht. This is wonderful. And everyone's looking at us going like, who are they? Are they the stars? So I plan within the next year or two, charter another yacht. And I don't know whether it's going to be Mediterranean. I'm looking at the Italy area or even maybe just in the Caribbean.
Well, that does sound luxurious. And I hope for your region cruise or your Oceania cruise, you will come back and tell us all about those. If anybody is interested in one of those cruises, how can they find you?
Okay, so my company is called medqueentours.com, and that's because my last name is McQueen. But so MedQueen, M-E-D, Queen, and Tours, Tours.com. There's a contact. You can reach out and contact me and say, hey, I'm interested in a cruise. And I should just say small cruises because I've also done the mainstream cruises like Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, but you got to think, if you want luxury, they have luxury aboard those too, and suites. You can go, they have the ship within ships. You can do suites in there and also have a butler. So some of the suites there have butlers too. So you can reach out to me. I'm more than happy. I like to pair people with what their experience they want to come home with. So you may say you want X, Y, and Z because you've heard someone else, but you really want, and I like to have conversations with people. So I'm going to tailor it to your needs and your wishes. And yeah, and also I'm on Instagram, DR Travel 911. So DR Travel 911. I also give health tips, healthy travel, because I believe in travel wellness, staying safe and healthy while you're traveling, like hydration, get enough sleep, using your sunscreen. I'm going to give you tips about if you're going to be in Machu Picchu and what you need to do for high altitude sickness. So you can follow me there for those type of tips.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely link those in the show notes. Thank you again, Yvette, for being here. And to all the listeners, thank you for being here too. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising. Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.